Hi, I'm Kim Marguccio of Island Soul Clothing and Gifts on the Seaside Heights Boardwalk. Today we're standing in the newly built Carousel Pavilion between Sampson and Carteret Avenues right here on the boardwalk.
Sometime around 2015, the concept of Seaside Heights acquiring the carousel from Casino was very complicated at the time. The Borough of Seaside Heights acquired the carousel with the property that the carousel sits on and the pavilion. And, we now own it as a town. It sat at Casino Pier and was operated through 2019. So sometime around November of 2019, it was disassembled. Planned to do, and it sat in storage for maybe a little bit of time, with the expectation that somebody, the company that was hired to restore the carousel, would take it. However, as we all know, what happened in the spring of 2020, COVID. So the carousel did not go out in 2020 to Ohio. It took some time for that to happen. So in the meantime, the town had hired work on carousels. They were ready for us. So the carousel was loaded up on an 18-wheeler and hauled out to Marion, Ohio. When I refer to Todd and his gang, I'm referring to carousels and carvings. It was unloaded, and it was very neatly organized in the workshop. And it was pretty much there being worked on until it came back to this location only a month ago, in July. And it took almost 4 weeks to put it all back together again. And as you can see from where we're standing, it's probably 95% complete at this point. It spins. We do run it. We're presently breaking it in. The Historical Society is here at nighttime, usually between 6 and 9. The first thing is we ordered a railing that's going to go around the carousel. It's custom manufactured, so that's going to take about 2 to 3 months. At the same time, where we're standing, there's an empty spot in front of us. That's going to be a wheelchair accessible chariot. And it was very neatly organized in the workshop. And it was pretty much there being worked on until it came back to this location only a month ago, in July. And it took almost 4 weeks to put it all back together again. And as you can see from where we're standing, it's probably 95% complete at this. The wheelchair would come up the ramp and literally right into the back of the wheelchair chariot, and the rider will be able to really fully experience the ride, versus just really coming up and putting the brakes on the wheels, which some places do. So this will allow the person to come up, go right into the chariot. It'll have a bench in the front like the other chariot. So if the person in the wheelchair is traveling with somebody, they can sit in the front. They choose to do that. So we're waiting for that to come back. That'll be about 2 to 3 months as well. And the third thing, and probably the most important thing, is we're waiting for a state inspection, and they can't inspect until those other two things come full circle. At some point, the carousel arrived in Seaside Heights at Casino Pier, sometime in 1932, we believe, and it came from a place called Burlington Island Park. Literally an island in the Delaware where there was an amusement park in the early days. There was a fire there. Somebody from here bought it with the purpose of bringing it back. But since it had been involved in the fire, it had to be restored. So we believe after our restoration turned up a plate that nobody had been aware of. We believe it might have been restored by W.F. Mangels and Company, which is a pretty well-known carousel making company at the time. So the horses were probably put together at the time that the carousel was brought back to Casino Pier. But I want to mention that many of these horses are from different carvers. It's not all one carver like Denzel or Loof. There's Carmel on here as well, and some others. And so it's kind of a hodgepodge of a machine. But some of these horses date back to the late 1800s.
Wow.
So it's a very old machine and very old hand-carved pieces up here.
That's awesome. That's really interesting. I had no idea.
Some of them look like they were freshly painted because we have a volunteer named Skip Tanis from Tanis Hardware up in North Jersey. He spent a lot of time cleaning the horses up. But I also want to mention that there are about 8 horses that have been painted in the last few years. by a local artist named Marie DeSales, a very special person. She's devoted a lot of her time to doing that. And I think there's about 8 of them. And she's also presently painting the band organ. So if we get a chance to walk around a little while, we'll be able to see the band organ. It's not completely done at this point, but she's been painting it this week. It really looks beautiful. There is a plan that sometime maybe in the spring or summer to start sending 2 or 3 horses at a time back to Marion, Ohio, where they will be stripped down to the wood and then repainted. We weren't able to do that when the rest of this was out there because of COVID and other work that they had in their queue. They would have never been able to get the carousel back when we got it back last month. We would have probably been waiting for another year. It takes about a month to do each horse.
Oh, wow.
So that's the story of the horses. We're coming up on where the operator terminal has been installed. This will have a railing around the carousel, and there will be an entry gate and an exit gate here. We'll have magnetic doors, all controlled electronically. This is the original bell.
Cool.
When it was at Casino Pier, the bell was located in the pit area, and it didn't look as shiny as it does now because it had never really been cleaned. But Carousels and Carvings did a great job of actually making it look nice.
How about give it a ring?
Yeah.
Wow. That's really loud. That's when you know it's time for the horses to take off. All right. So is there anything else? So we're just not sure on a date when it's going to be able to be available to the public, but you can keep checking back on the Seaside Heights Boardwalk page, right? And
Seaside Heights Boardwalk and the Seaside Heights Historical Society have a Facebook page. Don't really have a date for a grand opening, but we're planning a grand opening.
Awesome.
Because at some point there will be a date. But what we're planning is more of a 4-day rollout because we anticipate there's going to be so much interest in riding it. And so we're planning to roll it out over the course of 3 or 4 nights with different things happening each particular night.
That's awesome. So come on out and come have a look. And so that's it for us at Island Soul Clothing and Gifts, Seaside Heights Boardwalk, and Fashion Haunts Magazine.